Good. How are you?
Good. For the folks out there, welcome to our first informational production, and we plan on having many, many more as time goes on. I am George Welling. I'm the program director of the station, and today we want to talk about ordinances, especially for the summer, regarding burning, noxious weeds, and garage sale signs. With me is Officer Damon Cecil. He's the Ordinance Department Supervisor. And Damon, thanks for showing up. I think we're going to hit some areas that people have been asking about for a long time.
That's correct, George, and I'm glad we got the opportunity to get together and kind of talk about these things.
Yep. And we're going to be doing more of these as ordinances go on and
Yes.
other things, different seasons and that type of thing.
Absolutely. We would like to, educate the people and make them aware of some of these ordinances. Some people aren't aware of it. And this is a good way to get the word out to the public.
Well, I'm excited. Well, first of all, regarding burning, I would like to start to ask you to describe the 3 types of fires allowed.
Okay, well, normally what we have, and it's currently going on right now, is called open burning. We have that twice a year, once in the spring, which is the April and May months, and then we have it again in our fall months, which is in October and November. Open burning, you do not need a permit for. And the hours for open burning are on Fridays from 2 o'clock until 6 p.m. and on Saturdays and Sundays from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. Now, at no time, just so you're aware, when you are burning on those days, we do not allow burning in the streets, the roadways, or in our ditches, okay? And we do have some setback requirements. Those requirements are you have to be at least 15 feet off of a lot line and 25 feet from any type of a structure, and that's obvious so that we don't end up having some fires.
Regarding the months, days, and hours that you talked about, are there any exceptions?
Yes, George, we do get situations. Last year was a good example of that, where the fall season kind of, stretched. The summer was lasted a little longer. The leaves didn't fall off the trees, and we did extend burning. Generally, if we have something like that and we get enough complaints and people need to take care of things, the township supervisor will come to us and say, is it okay if we extend this? We then talk to the fire department because ultimately it's the fire chief that makes that determination. And if he agrees, then we can extend it.
Regarding these fires, what are the sizes of the fires? What's allowed?
Well, I'm glad you asked. If you're burning leaves and twigs during our burning season or period, if you're burning it with permit, our fires for those types of things are no larger than 3 feet in diameter, and the flames can be no higher than 3 feet in height. So I would suggest don't pour gasoline and kerosene on them and start creating a larger fire. Our same thing applies to our campfires. Campfires are, they're different. You don't need a permit for a campfire. We allow them all the time. Those are 3 feet in diameter as well and no higher than 3 feet in height. Now, campfires, unlike the leaf burning and things like that, a campfire can only be constructed of clean wood, okay? You can't use twigs, grass, weeds, and things of that nature to burn in a campfire. And those have to be either in a campfire pit or they have to be in some kind of entrenched or cased, some of these campfire barbecue things that they have.
There's a couple things here that I didn't even know. And I should, I'll be honest with you. And I want to ask you to remind folks about the drainage ditches and roads and areas, because I saw a lot of that last year.
Yes, well, and I'll tell you, prior to myself coming to the Ordinance Department, we did not have anything regarding ditches. We used to talk with the Drain Commission all the time, and the Drain Commission, by statute, doesn't have the ability to create laws. The problem is we were having people burning in the ditches, which were causing a couple of problems. First and foremost it was an obstruction to view for traffic. People would go down there on days that we were burning and they would be so smoky and foggy they couldn't see in the evenings. The other thing is, and this is important, especially if you live in a subdivision, you should know this, is when you're filling up those ditches with that stuff and you're burning it, that debris, that ash and stuff builds up in the bottom and it starts blocking the ditch. It travels down and it gets clogged up into the pipes underneath the roads. And in that case, then comes spring thaw. If we have a large snow or a big rain, it starts flooding. and it starts also decaying your roadways. So that is why we, when we spoke with the Drain Commission, they asked us to look at that again and address it, and so we wrote it into the ordinance so that you can't burn in the ditches.
I've seen some of that blockage happen last year. That's why I asked again. My next question has to do about burn barrels. Are they allowed for small branches and twigs?
Yes, burning barrels you are allowed, same thing applies with those. Burning barrels, we'd like them to be all metal. You have to have some type of a mesh covering on those. You can burn your twigs and leaves in those, but only during the times that we allow for open burning. Now, if you want to burn cardboard, paper, and things like that, you're allowed to do that year-round in an approved burning barrel, but again, only on the weekend hours that we have provided, which is again the 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Fridays and the 8 to 6 on Saturdays and Sundays. So usually that's the confusion, is people think that they can burn every day in a burning barrel. We never allow, and this is one thing I want to stress, we never allow the burning of garbage. You cannot burn any garbage at any time in any burning barrel.
All these things we've talked about so far, do any of those need a permit, like the campfire and all the burning that we've talked about?
The only time we do not need permits for campfires, George. We do not need a permit for open burning. However, if you're burning outside of the months that we gave you, the April and May or the October and November, you would need a permit. You come into the ordinance department, and those permits are $25. We can issue them up to 7 days, depending upon the situation. The other permit, which I want to stress, is a bonfire permit. Now, a bonfire is a lot different. It used to be years ago, you would have bonfires, and the ordinance department, we would come out and look at those. A bonfire, due to the nature of it, we allow bonfires, and what that is 8 feet in diameter and 8 feet in height, okay? Some of that is agricultural, because we get a lot of farmers and stuff that want to clear out their property, and so we have bonfires. Those permits are $25 also, unless you're on ag property, and then there is no charge if it's an agricultural use. The other important thing that we changed, George, was the fire department now goes out and inspects those bonfires due to the size that they are, and they're the ones that's going to be responding. We felt that it was better, myself and the fire chief, that they go out and take a look at them and be able to give the approval or yay or nay on those.
They're better qualified to inspect it and look what they're looking at.
Absolutely.
When we talked about the barrel, I'm changing subjects on you again. A lot of times I see somebody with a 55-gallon drum with just some holes punched in the middle and a mesh on top. Is that good enough?
Yes. Yes, that's fine, as long as they're burning the approved stuff that we just talked about.
The last thing I wanted to mention, well, first of all, are any other questions or points that you wanted to make?
No, just to let you know, the ordinance department, like I said, we now have an evening officer, Officer Tom Redmond, who is out there patrolling in the evenings for these illegal burns. It's very important that you understand the rules for burning. You can be issued a citation from the ordinance department, which can cost you up to $100 for your first violation. Also, if it's necessary and we would have to call the fire department out, the fire department has the ability to bill you also for their manpower, obviously, and the water usage and things of that nature. So, you know, it's very important that you follow these rules.
I think the one thing we want to emphasize is these rules are not just to be in your way. They're there for safety. Not only the safety of catching a house on fire or outbuildings, but also the safety and health regarding the smoke and inhaling the leaves and shrubs and stuff that are being burned. So please keep that in mind. That's the reason for the ordinances. And I wanted to point out to people that they can contact the ordinance department anytime. We'll cover that later. But we wanted to talk about mowing and noxious weeds. If you want to cover that for a little bit?
Sure. One of the other things that comes into play starting May 1st and runs until October 1st is what we call our noxious weeds tall grass ordinance. Every year we get several complaints about people in the township or locations that are not mowing their lawn. I'm going to give you some of the guidelines. First and foremost, if the grass is 6 inches or higher, okay, you want to contact the ordinance department. And the person in charge of our grass violations is Officer Shayla Pitson. And she can be reached at 734-224-7341. And again, she's in charge of that. Now, if we get a complaint regarding grass being 6 inches or higher, the ordinance department, we will go out, we inspect the property to make sure that that is in fact true before we would do anything else. After we've established that there is a violation occurring at that residence, we will send out a certified letter to the property owner giving them 10 days to bring that property and that grass into compliance. Most of the time, that's taken care of. If for some reason we do not hear from you, the grass is not mowed within that 10-day period, we have a contracted service that we will send out. They will mow the grass, and that will be assessed onto your property taxes. Now, keep in mind that by statute, we can only mow 165 feet in from the center of the road. So if this is a 5-acre field, you're not going to get the entire 5-acre field mowed, okay? Also, just to let you know that you don't have to, we get these questions all the time. We'll have somebody call in and complain. You don't have to keep calling us. If you've called us about a property, Officer Pitson is very good about registering that property on a list. We create a list. That automatically then gets checked on a regular basis. If we go by there and it's up to 6 inches again within a month or so, because we're only allowed to cut it once a month, we will automatically go back out there and cut that for a second time. So it's not necessary to keep calling us about the same location if you've already been the one that's called and made the complaint the first time.
Thank you. Again, I'm learning more as time goes on, and I thought I knew it pretty well, but the final thing is the garage sale signs and garage sales. What ordinances affect the signs?
Well, garage sales, again, we're not trying to be the garage sale police. By ordinance, which was created before I came, technically, people are not supposed to have more than 3 garage sales in a year. Let's be realistic, George. We know that people have more than that. And I would say if you're one of those people, probably the most that you could be is conscientious of your neighbors and parking issues and things like that. Because generally when we have garage sales, let's all face it, that's one of the biggest complaints people have is all the traffic that goes up and down in front of their house or your neighbor's property.
Some of these people really scare me the way they park. You can't get 2 cars through, or they start fighting for a spot.
Absolutely.
And blocking neighbors' driveways. Please keep that in mind, folks.
Yep.
That's really something.
Signage,
Yeah.
The other thing, George, that we get is complaints about signs on poles. The ordinance does not allow no type of signs on utility poles. It isn't just garage sales, it's any type of advertisement whatsoever you cannot put on utility poles. I can't stress to you enough, we do not want those on the poles. It's not just Bedford Township, it's actually all over. The utility workers, keep in mind, they have to climb those poles to maintain things up there in emergencies and situations like that. And for every nail and screw that you put into that pole, you're adding a risk of injury to that worker coming out to do his job that may be something that you may need if your power's out or something like that. So that is why we don't want signs on poles. And if you do, we will remove them, and you do also face the fact that we can issue a citation to you, and that can also bring about a fine.
As a former utility worker, I can't stress this enough. There's many times I've had to climb a pole and take the signs off, pound in nails, take out screws, because anything like that can catch on you on the way down. It's a serious business for the people who are working for the utility, so I'm biased. We'll leave it at that.
Well, and I'm glad to hear that, George, because it's nice to have it from that perspective, because I do hear it from the utility workers when we're out. One other thing with the signs is at the intersections and road right-of-ways. Our ordinance does not allow signs of any type to be placed in the road right-of-ways and intersections. And if this is occurring, we don't want to pull your signs, obviously. We don't want to ruin your events, but these are the ways to get them taken, okay? So stay out of the road right-of-ways at the intersections, and then you won't have a problem. The other thing is the size of your signs. You know, if they become a road obstruction, if they're so big that, you know, traffic at intersections can't see around them, and this includes coming in and out of a subdivision, you know. People, if you're interfering with traffic and the road right away and the view of the public, these signs are going to be removed. And obviously, you don't want to be the cause of somebody else's accident. And lastly, what I would say about garage sales is, you know, I would appreciate it, the ordinance would appreciate it, is if you would remove your signs once the event is over with, once your garage sale's done. This is our community, and if we all work together, we can keep it clean.
I think we've covered all three subjects pretty good. Nice job. I do want to point out that, first of all, in the township, there is a Bedford Township resident guide explaining the ordinance department, what they do, what they're responsible for, what they can and not do, and I encourage you to come pick one up. But more importantly than that, please call anytime you have a question with the ordinances. I find out that our new ordinance department, as I'll put it, has really taken off in responsibility in getting information to people, and they welcome your calls, they welcome to hear from you, and it's easier for them if they're avoiding problems ahead of time, isn't that right?
That's correct. You know, just like the spring cleanup we just had recently, it was a large success, George.
Yep.
We had a lot of people take advantage of that. Hopefully we can, you know, work on something to get that done again. These types of things in the community help my job, make it a lot easier, because instead of having a complaint and just being able to go out there and make a should I say, a complaint against you, I can also offer you a solution. And that's one of the things that I look forward to being able to do. So by all means, contact our department. We have a Facebook page. You can go to the Facebook, Bedford Township Ordinance. You can ask us questions on there, voice your concerns, whatever. We'll try to get back with you as quickly as possible. You can contact me at my number at 734-224-7350. Leave me a message if I can't get to you, and I'll get back with you and answer as much as I can for you.
For people who didn't have a pen ready, we will have the phone numbers and the officers' individual phone numbers that you get hold of them during working hours or during their shifts, like Tom's in the afternoons.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. Other than that, I just want to add that we're going to be doing more videos like this. We're going to cover the fire department. We have one coming up real soon about human trafficking. We taped that at one of the town hall meetings. Very important, very potent video. So keep watching the station, and I want to remind you, if you've watched this on the Channel 7 on cable and you want to see it again or you've missed it, all of the meetings are now on YouTube, including videos like this. If you need to know how, give me a call, and we'll go from there. That's it for me, Damon. You got anything else?
Nope, that's it, George. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this was wonderful.
Okay.
Hold it.